Welcome to 8 Cubes. I'm KMBest. He's Lambie Series. Together, we are the 70th ranked Marvel Snapper in the world. 69 plus 1 is, of course, 70. And we have a lot to talk about today. So let's just jump right into it. Mobius M. Mobius going to 3-3 with his old effect. I know a lot of the popular sentiment is, oh my god, this kills Mr. Negative. Oh my god, this kills Sarah. Personally, I kind of think they were already dead. But I do think that 3-3 Mobius is like actually a pretty significant impediment to like putting him in every deck. Like 3 is a lot more of an ask than 2, and I'm interested to know what Lambie has to say.
Right. So firstly, I do think that Mobius like deserves to have his old effect back because like the current one the one that we had after the first like nerf was horribly bad. Like no one played the card. So I mean, if you want to make a card like Mobius, you gotta have at least like some like game breaking or impactful effect, right? So I guess getting him his old effect back was good. The thing is, at 3-3, I do agree with you that like it doesn't fit the curve as nicely. I think we gotta remember that Marvel Snap at the end of the day, right? It's a very simple concept. Big numbers, win 2 lanes, that's how you win a game. Like Mobius not fitting nicely into curves anymore might be a problem. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna stop him from being played, but like people are gonna realize that it's harder to fit him into your game winning like plans or situations or setups, you know. Like of course, yes, you still can like snap on a Mobius versus like a Loki deck, that kind of thing. And they can't do as many broken things. But you are also stopping yourself from doing a lot more broken things by playing a 3-3 instead of a 2-3, you know. So I'm very curious to see like what happens with Mobius. I do think firstly that yes, his play rate will go like up. I don't know how much, but like up. But I think he's not going to be as impactful as when he was at 2-3.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about is like, you know who really hates him being 3 cost is Thanos, because Thanos loved that card at 2-3, but at 3, it's like at 2 weird. You play him alongside a stone on 3, and that stone is Time Stone, and then you get your 5. And I think at 3, it's like, all right, we have to like go back to basics and make an entirely different Thanos deck. Like the Khazar Blue Marvel Spectrum type deck, where it's like we play Iron Lad and Khazar as 4s, and it's literally just like we are doing Zoo, but in Thanos. That feels like the only way that you can actually fit the guy in. And that is a big thing to give away because Thanos decks have been so predicated on this Time Stone centric gameplay for so long that sacrificing it to get Mobius in there because Loki beats you up otherwise it's a big ask. Like making that sacrifice is tough to do. I'm interested to see where he goes. I really, really am, because I do think that it'll have some knock-on effects. Both like Loki decks tend to be very greedy right now. One card I think that's going to get hurt by this in an underrated way is Beast, because Beast is a card that is in like the Darkhawk deck. It is in the your build of Loki right now. And it ends up being much, much worse when it is not giving that discount value. It is a like genuinely kind of a horrible card to be playing when it's not doing that. And that is a underrated. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about, you know, Zabu, going to be talking about Mr. Negative, going to be talking about Sarah. But in terms of affecting the metagame, I think Beast is a bigger hit than any of those 3, maybe than all of those 3 combined, because the amount of Beasts you see in the top ranks is much higher than the amount of any of the other ones that you're going to see.
Yeah, we're going to cover this a little bit more later in building Loki, but for now, yeah, I do think Mobius's impact will be decent, but not as great as it used to be at 2-3.
So perhaps longest awaited nerf of all time, Shang-Chi only hitting 10 plus now instead of 9 plus. And at first glance, I'm like, you know, does this really matter all that much? Like, is this that big of a deal? What do you think about it? Just first impressions.
Right. So along with like the Shang-Chi nerf, they also kind of like buffed certain like cards, right? Like the monster from Monster Island is a 610. She-Hulk's going back up to a 610. So in theory, like he's hitting very similar things. Of course, I gotta mention like some of the things that he's no longer hitting, like Black Cat, Rescue, Abomination, Living Tribunal. Those cards don't get hit by Shang-Chi any longer, which I think may make a difference. But like, I mean, like these cards aren't really popular anyway. Like Living Tribunal is not a deck. So anyway, I mean these cards are not.
I just want to jump in. Of those, like Abomination is the one that's actually seen play, right? Like,
yes,
that one's actually the one that matters there, because Black Cat, like, that'll come down on the final turn off of a Hela or something like that. Like, you won't be able to Shang that anyway. But Abomination is like that. Evo Abomination is like actually a thing. That's an interesting point that I hadn't considered.
Yeah, so the Evil Abomination is quite interesting because like the deck's seeing play right now, right? But it's mainly seeing play because like Mobius is a bit like not around, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that might be the main reason why. But yeah, no, the Abomination not being able to hit is like a thing. But yeah, no, so Shang-Chi, personally, I always felt like cards like Shang-Chi and Killmonger needed to be in the game. You know, these kind of cards are like important cards to like let the game be in control. So I never felt like he needed the nerf. But I guess pushing him to like a 4/3 that kills a 10 power card is okay, I guess. Like I don't see it being that impactful. I might be really wrong here, but I don't see it being that impactful. I guess in those nuanced cases, like your collector is now a 2/9, it's safe, right? Your
Yeah.
Angela Bishop is now a 2/9, it's safe. I think it's just the new normal kind of thing. Like instead of people
Yeah.
used to be like oh, let's put our like hard carries to 8 power and be careful not to make it go 9. Now it's be careful not to make it go to 10. I think in overall it will be similar, just that it's just like the new normal. People have to get used to making cards not 10 instead of not 9.
I mean, I think that that's actually going to be where you see the most of the difference, is like someone just beefing what a Shang-Chi kills now. Like trying to kill something with 9 and then realizing that they've changed the card. Like that'll happen to you for a while after they make a change like this, because your brain is just wired a certain way. So do keep an eye out on that in your gameplay when you, the viewer, end up in a Shang-Chi situation.
All right, so with that being said, another card that I want to look at today is KMBest. I want to look at KMBest today, as much as we've always been looking at KMBest. By KMBest, I mean Strong Guy. Strong Guy is now from a 4/4 to a 3/3 with the same effect, +6 ongoing if your hand is empty. So KMBest, I want to ask you, what do you think is like, what's the use case for Strong Guy right now? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same? What do you think?
It's much better, right? Because 3/9, very important breakpoint. But also, like, everyone's like, oh, Werewolf Finite, it's so broken. It's a 3/9, right? It's like, wait, Strong Guy's a 3/9 now. That's like, I mean, you can't play it with a bunch of the other discard synergy stuff because of Apocalypse. I get it. But one of the interesting things about Strong Guy is you can play him in any kind of deck that wants to dump hand. So, like, Sarah Control now has just a 3/9 they can play, right? Like, that is a unique and interesting card. And as long as you manage your hand dumps properly, a 3/9 is going to get a lot of work done, especially when it's discounted, right? Of course, you know, Mobius exists, but it kind of remains to be seen how common he'll actually be. So a 2/9, for the record, that's what Strong Guy was in the beta. Like, no joke. He was a 2/9. It was extremely stupid. And you would make him a 1/9 with Sarah. But, like, giving some power back to the explode on the final turn of the game strategies is actually pretty interesting to me. And this card is a way to do that. I don't think he's necessarily a card you're going to be like putting out there as a, you know, I'm going to curve this guy out there and he's going to have the 9 power. It's definitely like the kind of card you're playing if you plan on playing, you know, 4 or 5 cards, every card in your hand on the final turn of the game, something along those lines. I mean, that's a big number for not a lot of investment. I am kind of interested in the card. I will say that.
Yeah, I just want to add also that like I think this card might really help Sarah like Sarah decks in a sense. I wouldn't say Sarah decks, more like decks that hand like dump, right? Like maybe like Sarah Point Slam in the past with the whole Maximus, and this fits just in line with that. And also like if you play like a Kazoo style deck, it's very easy to dump your hand, right? Like you play like those early pool like 6, 7, 1-drop decks and then a Strong Guy, and then you just dump it all. You get a 3/9, and then you get a lot of stats on the board, and you buff everything in Blue Marvel. You know, there's early pool decks that like could really benefit from Strong Guy being 1 cost cheaper. That's a thing.
There is one thing about him that's interesting though, and I think what it is it means you can't run America Chavez because you're never going to dump her out of hand. And so that's an interesting move as well. Like I don't know if that is how like good decks are built, but you definitely probably, unless you have like another discard card in there, cannot run America Chavez with the Strong Guy in your deck. One thing that is kind of interesting is like we're so close to the beta curve, which was like you'd go Sarah into Strong Guy plus like Ghost Rider, Lady Sif Ghost Rider. We're so close to being able to do that again. Like, if you have a Zabu out, right? A Zabu and a Sarah. The Ghost Rider is 2, the Sif is 2, the Strong Guy is 2. Like, you could do it in theory. It's just we used to be able to do that for like 4 energy. So, you take it or leave it.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because it links really very hard into our next topic also, which is that like these broken things that you guys used to be able to do in the beta are not very broken anymore, which is why they let it happen again because of something like Loki, which is just the brokenness.
Great intro, Lambie. All right, so let's talk about how to build Loki. Both of our decks relied on discounts to play Loki before these changes. I was a Quinjet guy, he was a Beast guy. What does Loki look like now? Are we going back to being Legion gamers? Are we Dino gamers? Where are we thinking about taking the deck? I want to know where your thoughts are.
I like how you opened that one with like Legion or Dino, because that's where my head was at as well. Because if we slow down the meta with Mobius, Loki, like Beast, Falcon, Quinjet related stuff also get hit, right? Like because of the Mobius being introduced back into the game. So with everything gets slowed down, Loki's so-called additional package might have to be like that whole Coulson Dino thing again, or maybe just Legion, and then because you can't go full on, like you said, Beast, Falcon, and then like be not unworried about the fact that Mobius is a card, right? Because the moment Mobius hits, like Beast is effectively wasting an entire turn on your side of the board. So I feel like maybe we might be exploring like Dino synergies again. I do want Legion to be a relevant force in the meta because I really love the card in general. But like we mentioned in a previous video that in the Elsa meta, things were just too fast for Legion to be ever considered good. Now, hopefully, if Mobius slows down the meta a bit, I want Loki to still be relevant because I really think that the deck is really very, very strong. But I guess the direction that we are pushing it might have to be more of a. I mean, for the benefit of everyone, it's probably gonna become a simpler Loki deck. Thank God. Like honestly, even though I did like popularize that whole Beast Falcon Loki deck, I swear to God, like after playing it for like 2 hours, I want to stop playing the deck for the whole day because like it's mad complex, and I feel like Mobius introduces some sort of like a little bit more simplicity in this top deck, which I don't think it's a problem or a bad thing at all.
So one of the things that I've been thinking about is I think Mobius coming back is also a bit of a stealth nerf to Werewolf by Night. Yes. By being a bit of a stealth nerf to Beast, and by forcing Loki decks to find power elsewhere, right? And I kind of wonder if Werewolf ends up, like it's good, right? It's still good. But if you take my list and cut Quinjet, like what goes in there for it? Do we play like a Coulson? Do we play like a Dino? What are we doing? Do we still play Quinjet? Maybe nobody plays Mobius. Do we still play Shang? Is there going to be enough stuff for us to want to profitably Shang? If we cut Shang, do we put in a Dino? Because that way at least you're not getting your own Dino Shanged. Like there's a lot of weird bits about building Loki into the metagame that I think, Loki's own power will cover up. And that means that, I still think he's going to be like a mid-range killer, right? If your opponent's playing Miss Marvel, you take it and you do it better, right? But it's still like, there's some kind of iffy stuff going on there in terms of finding the exact right build. Speaking of Miss Marvel, she came out. She's a very solid mid-range card in my estimation, 4/5. That can scale up to a 4/15 depending on the way that you set her up. She's been seen in ramp shells, she's been seen in Darkhawk shells, and generally most Miss Marvel decks, unfortunately, are in that sort of metagame mid-range space where they lose to the card Loki, because then it takes your stuff and your whole deck of efficient threats ends up looking pretty stupid when your opponent plays them for cheaper. That said, can a Zabu deck fit Mobius in there? Like, is that the kind of thing we can do? We used to do it at 2/3. Can we do it at 3? It costs us Rock Slide, maybe? There's some interesting things there.
Right. It's very interesting because Miss Marvel, to me, it's one of the few season pass cards that, like, because I have like some level of sixth sense for these kind of things. Like when Elsa was released and Loki was released, I immediately tested the heck out of those cards because I had this feeling that they'll be busted. But Miss Marvel, when it got released, I kind of just went to sleep because I realized that there wasn't gonna be much cooking that I had to do, and then I woke up the next day. I realized that okay, yeah, so this is exactly what I thought it was, which is Miss Marvel is a card that I feel really benefits simpler strategies, and by simpler I mean like the early game, new player strategies, because it's like it fits those cards, right? right? Like it's like a claw. It's like a onslaught. It's like a
better
spectrum.
claw.
It feels very claw-ish, Mr. Fantastic-ish, because it's like just basic power buffs and like I mean this one is potentially a 415, but what I've realized in my actual testing of Miss Marvel is that like a lot of the time you are relegated to playing your deck in a certain way. And because of the way Miss Marvel buffs, and like you might not think that it's a factor, right? But like at the early levels of play, it's fine. You just put up power in the simplest way possible. It's fine. But like when I play this against like some players that I used to play on my ladder grind, I realized that like they play around Miss Marvel so easily, and like she feels like she makes me feel like I can only do it this way, and if I do it in any other way, my deck is worse. And the players that I play against know that it's gonna be worse if I do it in any other way. So they know that Miss Marvel's going down center. My final turn will have to be Doom. I gotta shift this Jeff out of the right side lane because there are two cost cards there. You know, it's like they just know, and you also know that it has to be done because if you don't do it, it's way worse for your game state and board state anyway. So I feel like Miss Marvel is a good card, but one thing people overlook is really how easy it is to like play around or like know what's gonna happen. And in Marvel Snap, like if your opponent knows exactly what's gonna happen to your board state, it's like to your detriment most of the time. So I feel like the problem with Miss Marvel, and also the good thing is that she's easy to play, she's a lot of stats. But like the problem with her is that like she's super telegraphed and you can't do anything about it because the best way to play her is a very super telegraphed way.
I'm gonna draw an analogy to a deck that you're actually gonna be familiar with, Discard. She's like that.
Yes.
She's Discard, right? Where it's like everyone kind of knows what's happening, and if they can stop it, they will farm you. But if they can't stop it, you're gonna beat them, and you kind of both know how it's gonna go down.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk to you about Thanos, because Thanos is a deck that was thriving after the original Loki nerf alongside a 2/3 Mobius. But I think more than any other deck that played previous Mobius, Thanos really hates playing a 3-cost Mobius, more than basically any other deck. Now, you're the Thanos guy, so tell me about what you think about Thanos, if you think the archetype's going to have to move in a different direction, if you think the archetype is going to be, you know, what it used to be, if you think we can get it back to the top of the metagame, because I know people have been thirsting over that Peach Momoko Thanos, which apparently is not coming out next week, by the way. What are your thoughts?
Right, so this is very important. Like Thanos throughout history has always had a very competitive 3-cost slot, right? Like 3-turn 3. So in the first iterations, Lockjaw was the god dog at the 3 slot. Now the new versions are basically Time Stone plus X, with X being anything that can fit on turn 3 with Time Stone. The thing is, like, Mobius is now the 3. So if we are gonna do Mobius on 3, then our Time Stone maybe comes out on 4, which means we are gravitating towards playing multiple 6s instead of multiple 5s. And I don't know if multiple 6s beats multiple 5s. I guess multiple 6s is like Doom Odin, right? Doom on 5, Odin on 6. So I guess if we play Mobius, it has to be more of that direction, because I feel like any later than 3 that you get down Mobius is just a detriment to yourself. Because if you don't get it down on 3, they can Loki on 4. And if on 4 you play Mobius, it's gotta be Mobius Time Stone specifically, which leads you into a 6 energy on turn 5, which means you play a 6. So like I feel like the deck would have to move in a different direction to like actually support Mobius again, which I'm fine with, because like I did love like the whole like Killmonger, Death, Wave, Doom, Odin thing, but obviously that was before Wave was what it is now.
Yeah.
So I actually will want to like cook a bit once Mobius gets back to 3-3, 2-3-3, and I see how it fits in Thanos. But in general, I feel like Thanos, the direction that Thanos wants to go, I've seen people flirting with the idea of like Lockjaw related stuff as well, right? Because like the Human Spider has done like what, Sandman Thanos. It's kind of interesting. Sandman Lockjaw Thanos. I've seen on ladder as well some you'll be surprised, ongoing Lockjaw Thanos with like claws and onslaughts. I've seen that in my meta a little bit. So that could be a thing.
Without that, I played ongoing with just like Spectrum type stuff, and I was surprised by how good it was. But you know, 2/3 Mobius pretty important there.
Yeah, I mean, if a Mobius pops out for free off a Lockjaw at 3/3, and you're playing ongoing synergies, and like Mobius is an ongoing, it could still be fine. Like imagine a Mobius randomly popping out off of a Lockjaw right on their Loki turn. It's kind of disgustingly strong. So just something to consider as well. And of course, I love Lockjaw, right? It's like how I started Thanos anyway. So something I would definitely want to consider again.
It's just odd because Mobius has gone from a card you're very happy to see on rate to a card where you're like, well, if I got it for free, I guess I'm cool with that. Like that.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough to deal with.
Yeah, now you gotta think, right? Like on turn 3, especially in the Thanos, like, do I want to slow down my game plan to play a Mobius? Does it slow them down enough to play Mobius? Or should I
Yeah.
just like play my time stone on 3 instead and then hope they don't have the Loki because I didn't want to play my Mobius? You know that? So now that's something that we have to consider for the future.
It sure is. All right, let's talk about ladder. Lambie, do you want to tell them where you got reset to?
All right, so some history. I did this ladder grind thing last season just to try and see if I can hit top 10. I did, and I finished number 6, which is pretty damn good. So the reset is interesting. I resetted at literally 100 SP below my initial SP from the previous season, which is weird because at first I thought that like I might just be a god or something. Well, I do think I'm to a certain extent quite a god,
I mean,
but like
you are, but not like that.
Yeah, but not to the extent of being 1,000 SP higher than the whole
Yeah.
world, which is like not logical even by my standards. So the funny thing is that the person that finished rank 1 on Asia, I finished rank 2. The person that finished rank 1 on Asia was Tiz. He's resetted at 9,000. So if the person that's better than me resets to 9,000 and I reset to 10,000, surely something's up. Maybe SD just like secretly loved me or something. I don't
Streamer
know.
Diff,
Maybe
yeah.
it's a bug. Maybe it's a
he's
bug.
got to start streaming, right? Like if he starts streaming, he'll get the beneficial treatment. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just want to talk about this because, like,
Yeah.
honestly, I think ladder MMR right now is a mystery, right? It's a mystery for all of us. We don't know how it's calculated. I hope like it's not just like it's not just a straight up bug. But honestly, in my case, I think it is a bug. What do you think?
My read on it is that it has to be a bug because I first season I reset from 10.3. They put me at 8.6. Basically,
Okay.
everyone else who reset from 10.3 and was above me that first season got put down to like 8.6 to 8.8. I have seen like when Tanjo got reset from like what I assume was like a very high peak, he got to like 9. So nobody basically had that was last season. I don't know what he reset to this season. So I'm guessing resetting to 10.1 from 10.2 or whatever it was. 10.3 is unintentional behavior. And I don't know what caused it, but enjoy it, buddy. Congratulations. You are the best.
I'm currently the number 1 and will be there.
You're gonna be.
I'll be there for a while with not zero, with less effort than most.
No,
like
it'll take. I honestly think if you played no games, you might end up finishing there on a shorter season.
I'll be surprised.
I think it's doable. Like Tiz has to climb 1,000 SP. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a big ask, right? Like that is super tough. They did mention, and they have mentioned this publicly, that they're kind of looking at maybe reworking ladder. Based on this, I can only say it can't come soon enough.
Indeed. Well, I guess my stream will be happy because they miss me playing Conquest, and I miss Conquest as well. Last month, I only got 2 Infinity Borders. Such underperforming.
God. You fell off. He fell off.
Such underperformance, man.
Oh my God, he's washed. Jesus
oh no.
Christ. My mom came in and asked if I had done the laundry, and I replied Lambie series, and she smiled because she knew he was washed.
And that's where we have to shift over to the next topic to wash away my sins.
Speaking of washed, there are a lot of washed out variants in the shop right now. Peach Momoko's watercolor treatment has done a wonder on everyone's wallet at this point. And Lambie specifically requested that we put this on there so that he could gush about Peach Momoko. I want to be clear. Peach Momoko, the pun I was making, I'm going to be explicit about this because we've already had enough problems with people in the Marvel Snap community harassing artists. So I want to be clear about the joke I was making. The joke I was making was not that Peach Momoko is washed, but that her color palette tends to be a little washed out. It's a stylistic art joke, not an insult. Anyway, Please continue.
Yes, so we did 6 sort of very serious topics, more serious, and then 2 like more chill topics. But this one, because it's on my channel, I really want to just highlight the fact that how much I really love Peach Momoko variants. Like everyone in my stream and my chat and my community knows that this is my favorite artist. Like she's my favorite artist ever. Like based on like in Marvel Snap. Like because like at the end of the day, like have you seen the Null? Her Null is crazy. Like the Peach Momoko Null is like one of the most badass things that I've seen in a long time in terms of art. Like so they did the shop takeover for Peach Momoko. I have my eyes on like the Valkyrie. The one on the the Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie is so good.
Yeah, it's so sick, dude. Like it's like a mural on a wall. So
Yeah.
obviously this is not really about gameplay or like strategy or whatever. But once in a while, I feel like I just want to give a really big shout out to like what I like about the game, because like I think at this point I also can talk about the fact that when I first started Marvel Snap, I looked at the art and I'm like, oh my god, there goes my wallet. Like I knew from the start that like I would spend on the art because I'm someone that really likes collecting this kind of stuff, like collectibles, like collectible cards and stuff like that. So um yeah, art. Peach Momoko art has been like the favorite thing for me. Every time something new comes out from her, I would like take a second look. I even bought the She-Hulk bundle because I really like the art. So I mean, I really like the art, and despite She-Hulk gonna be like destroyed in like
Yeah.
soon,
Absolutely,
still,
absolutely obliterated both by
I
Mobius and Shang-Chi. It's tough.
still bought it, but like yeah. So this is really just me being a fan and saying thank you, Peach Momoko, for doing such awesome work with your art styles, and you have a fan in me, and probably a lot more people with like fans of your style as well. So that's basically it. I just want to say this was a good shop takeover for me personally, and I will be definitely buying a lot of these.
Peach Momoko's stuff is super awesome, but I almost feel like it's unsuited for a game like Marvel Snap. Does that
I
make
agree
sense?
though.
Like
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
gorgeous, but it's like the vibes are different, right? Like you look at that
Yes.
Valkyrie and it's like, well, I shouldn't be fighting with this. This should be a painting, right? Like this shouldn't be a game piece. It's like art. It's like, oh man, that's like really, really good. And so like for some reason, I don't really use a lot of Peach Momoko variants because it's like it's too serious. And like it's almost like a tonal shift from almost every other variant in the game. And I think that's probably why people love it, is because it's
Yes.
so unique. It's so different from everything else. It's so like I think Rian Gonzalez is like this too, where you'll get people who like absolutely love her and people who absolutely don't, right? Where it's like you like you get it or you don't get it. And I gotta say, on Peach Momoko in Marvel Snap, there are a couple ones that are just like incredible. That Valkyrie is awesome. The Thanos is awesome, phenomenal. But I think on balance, I'm probably not buying a lot of these. Unlike, I
Mm-hmm.
think, as far as I can tell, literally every other Snap creator who is just like every single row of the shop is bought out.
Yeah, that's gonna be me too.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yo, so shout out to Peach Momoko. Your color palette is literally too good for us. Like what you do is literally too good for our little mobile game. So
Yeah.
you do your job incredibly well.
Yeah. I just wanna add one last thing, which is that it's really interesting that you mentioned the whole art and mural thing, or like wall, or like a piece of painting thing, because
Yeah.
you know I never really noticed ever like in my life the Marvel Snap home screen. You know when you log into the game, they have the background of like the artist or like
Yeah.
of the season pass and everything, right?
Yeah.
This one, it's not just me. Like most of my chat also realizes that they've started staring at the home screen a lot more, because the Peach Momoko art is just so like outstanding, right? Like it's like a painting. It's literally a painting on your screen when you log in. I just didn't realize that I started just like looking at the home screen and noticing it, because it's all like the Spectrum, Miss Marvel, and the Carol Danvers Peach Momoko art. So just something that you said that got me thinking, which is that yeah, her art is really something that is just like to be admired. You know, that kind of
Yeah.
from that angle. It's
I was
interesting.
like that with the Loki home screen.
Wait, why?
Have you played
Because you
that
admire
card?
Loki.
Because it said 3-5
Okay.
on it. Are you kidding me?
Okay, fine.
All right, y'all. It's been a pleasure. As always, remember to like and subscribe right down below. Hit the bell so you can get the notifications from Lambie's channel. Do they still do that? I don't know if they still do that. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Lambie. Take us out.
And with that, we have come to the end of another episode of 8 Cubes. This will be on my channel. If you like what you see, if you like us, do like, comment, and subscribe below. And we will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.